Hey guys, this is Rick. In this video, I wanted to take some time to give you an overview of the monthly budget spreadsheet. Now, it's important to note that this is not a how-to budget video. You'll find the link to that video in the description below. For this video, I wanted to walk you through step by step on how to use the monthly budget spreadsheet. Now, there are two versions of this spreadsheet available on RhoneLogics.com for download. The first version is the Microsoft Excel version, and the second version is the Google Sheets version. For this overview, I'll be utilizing the Google Sheets version. However, as we progress throughout the video, I'll be adding notes to communicate any instructional differences between the Microsoft Excel version and the Google Sheets version. Now, with that in mind, let's get into it. Okay, so let's get started with a quick overview of each of the sections in the monthly budget spreadsheet. So at the top here, you have two rows. One to enter the current month and year, and the other to select your budget status. Below that in orange, you'll find the account balances section. This is where you document the current balance for all of your accounts. This section also enables you to calculate your net worth without market value, as well as your net worth with market value. And below that in green is the monthly income section. This is where you document all of your income sources, as well as the amounts of take-home pay you receive from each of them. In blue is the This Month's Budget section. This is where you document each of the individual line items that will make up your budget for that month. And finally, at the end, in dark blue, is the Income and Budget Comparison section. This section is where you compare your monthly income to your monthly budget to see if the two are in alignment. And that's it in terms of the individual sections of the spreadsheet. So let's now take a look at the color coding used throughout. All yellow cells are considered input cells. So you're expected to enter information wherever you see yellow. So as I stated before, for this cell, you will be expected to enter the current month and year. If you go to this cell over here, if comments are applicable, then you would enter them here. And similarly, if I came over here to checking account number 1, I would enter the starting balance for that account in this cell here. The next color is gray. Gray can be a few things. It could be a heading cell, such as starting balance, ending balance, difference. It could be a category cell, such as checking account, savings account, investments. It could also be subcategories, such as checking account 1, underneath checking accounts, or savings account 3 underneath the savings account category. It could also be a description. So in this case, this cell is describing the checking account row. And it could also be a blank cell, such as these here. No information should be entered in the blank cells. So that's it in terms of the gray cells used throughout. Now the next color is white cells. White cells are automatically calculated because they have formulas contained in each of those cells. So as you can see, as I click on each of these white cells, in the FX row here, you could see the individual formulas. And if I double click on any of them, you'll see the contents of that formula. So in terms of the savings accounts, it's summing all 4 savings accounts into this one white cell here. So you need to be careful with all white cells that contain formulas. You do not want to edit these cells because you run the risk of corrupting your spreadsheet. Now in terms of the other colors used throughout, they're just used to denote the different sections. So as stated before, your account balances section is in orange. Your net worth without market value is this light orange color, and this pinkish color is your net worth with market value. Your monthly income section is green. Your this month's budget section is light blue, and in dark blue is your income and budget comparison section. And that's it in terms of the colors used throughout the spreadsheet. Now let me show you a few ways to customize the spreadsheet. When you download the spreadsheet from RhoneLogics.com, the default name of the spreadsheet is Monthly Budget Spreadsheet. Now if you wanted to customize that to make that something more specific, you simply left click on the current name of the spreadsheet and then begin typing the new name. So for this example, I'm going to call it the Smith family monthly budget spreadsheet. And for the change to take effect, I could simply click outside of the cell or press the Enter key on my keyboard. So I'm going to press the Enter key on my keyboard. And just like that, the name has been updated to Smith Family Monthly Budget Spreadsheet. So another thing you may want to do is change the names of the individual sheets within the spreadsheet. So in order to do that, you want to right-click on the individual sheet name, and then scroll up to Rename, and then left-click on Rename, and begin typing the new name. So in this example, I'm going to call it January 2018. And for the change to take effect, I could press the Enter key on my keyboard or click outside of the cell. So I'm just going to click outside. And just like that, the name of the sheet has been updated to January 2018. Now you may also want to change the width of each of the individual columns within the spreadsheet. There are two ways to do that. The first way is to go up to the column letter bar, which is this bar here, and then hover to the right of the column that you would like to change. So in this example, I'm going to change the column width for column B. So I'm going to go to the right of it and then hover until I see this double arrow icon. Then I'm going to left click and then hold and then drag that column to my desired width and then release. Now the column width has been updated. The second way to do it is to go up to the column letter bar again, left click on the column letter. So in this case, I'm going to change the width for the column C. So I'm going to left click on it to highlight the entire column. Then I'm going to right click on that column and then scroll down to resize column. Now I'm going to change the number of pixels to say 100 pixels and then click OK. And now the column width has been updated. In a similar way, you may also want to change the heights of each of the individual rows within the spreadsheet. And there are two ways to do that as well. The first way is to go over to the row number bar, which is this bar here, and then hover towards the bottom of the row that you want to change until you see the double arrow icon, then left click, drag and release, and the row height has been updated. And the second way is to again click on that row number. So in this case, I'm going to click on row number 8 to highlight the row, then right click on it, then scroll down to resize row and click on that, and then change the number of pixels. So in this case, I'm going to say 40 pixels and then click OK. Now the row height has been updated. Another thing you may want to do in order to customize the spreadsheet to your liking is to delete rows. There are two ways to delete rows. You could delete a single row or you could delete multiple rows at a time. To delete a single row, simply right click on that row. So in this case, I'm going to delete row 9 here. So I'm going to right click on row 9 and then scroll down to delete row and then left click delete row. And just like that, the row has been deleted. If I wanted to delete multiple rows at a time, so in this case, I'm going to delete rows 12 and 13. So I would first left click and hold on row 12, then drag to row number 13, then release, selecting both rows. Now if I right click and then scroll down to delete rows 12 through 13, both rows will be deleted. Now to insert a row, you would simply right click in the area where you'd want that row to be inserted. So in this case, I'm going to insert a row between rows 13 and 14. So I would right click on row 14 and then left click on insert row. And the row will appear above what was row 14 before. Now, once the row has been inserted, there are two things you need to be concerned with. You need to copy the formula from the surrounding rows to that row. So as you can see, the formula in the difference column is missing from the new row that I inserted. So I'm going to copy this. I could simply hold the Control key down on my keyboard and then press C, so Control C, and then Control V to paste. Or I could left click on that row and then go to copy and then go back to my new row, left click on that and then paste. You will also need to copy the formatting in the comments column. So as you can see, this column here is not formatted the way the surrounding rows have been formatted. So in order to do that, again, I could copy from this row and paste it in this row. And the formatting has been updated. And you can go ahead and add your new subcategory here. There's another thing to be mindful of when inserting new rows, and that is to ensure that the formulas in the white cell account for that new row that you've inserted. So in this case, in the investment section, the formula in the white cell, if I double click on it, it's summing all 4 rows. And that's because I chose to insert a row between 2 existing rows within that section. However, let's say I clicked on the cash on hand row and went to insert a new row. Now if I double click on this white cell here, that row is not accounted for in my formula. And to ensure that it's accounted for, I'll need to change that formula. So now it goes to B17 versus B16. So I'll simply change this to B17. Double click on that again, and you see that row has now been accounted for. And you'll need to make sure you update that for each of the individual columns containing a formula. So I'll need to do that here as well. And then don't forget to copy down the formula and the formatting. Now let's walk through completing the monthly budget spreadsheet. I am going to start here at the top and enter my current month and year. Then I'm going to select my budget status. Since I'm drafting my budget, I'm going to select being drafted. This now brings me to the account balances section. So I'm going to enter my starting date. So let's say it's January 1st, 2018. Now I'm going to customize each of my subcategories to reflect my personal accounts. So for this example, let's say that I have a Bank of America checking account. And I only have one checking account, so I'm going to delete this row here. And my starting balance as of January 1st, 2018 in my checking account is $1,200. I'm going to enter $1,200. Now I have 2 savings accounts, one with Bank of America and the other with a credit union. And for my Bank of America savings account, as of January 1st, there's $1,000 in it. And for this example, in my credit union, there's $2,000 in my savings account as of the 1st of the month. Now, in terms of investments, I have a 401k and a Roth IRA, so I'm going to delete the additional rows. And for my 401k, my current balance as of January 1st is $30,000. And for my Roth, that's $10,000. Now, if I check my wallet, I have $130 in cash. So I enter that in my cash on hand. And I have 2 credit cards. The first one is a Citi Bank credit card, and the other one is a American Express credit card. So I'm going to delete the additional 2 rows. And as of January 1st, I owe $5,000, so negative $5,000 is what I enter. And I owe $1,300 to American Express. Now I have a mortgage, a student loan, and a car loan. So for my mortgage, the principal that I owe is $98,000 as of the 1st of the month. My student loan, on that I owe $10,000. And then on my car loan, I owe $5,000. So I have no need for this additional row, so I'm going to delete that. And in terms of properties I own outright, I own a car, which is a 2012 Honda Civic. I have no more payments on that car. And I have some artwork. All right, so I could delete this third row here. Now I could go through and fill out the market value column for each of my properties. So if I check Zillow.com on the first of the month, it's saying that my property is worth $120,000. I'm going to put $120,000, and I could add a note here. So per Zillow.com on 1/1/2018. Student loan has no market value. It's just money you owe. It's not something you could resell. And the car loan, let's say I check KBB.com, so Kelly Blue Book. So this is per Kelly Blue Book on 1/1/18. And it says that my car is worth $10,000. So I owe $5,000 on it, and it's worth $10,000. So I could enter that market value there. And for my 2012 Honda Civic, the market value per Kelly Blue Book is $5,000. I could copy that note there. And then the artwork, let's say somehow I got it appraised and that came up to $2,000, or I'll enter $2,000 for the market value. Now let's review the net worth. So there are two net worth calculations. The first one is without market value. So it's summing your assets and then subtracting your liabilities from your assets. So for the first formula, it's saying my net worth is actually negative $74,970. And that's because I owe more than I own. So for this formula, it's summing all my assets. So $1,200, $3,000, $40,000, and $130. So that's $44,330. And from that, it's subtracting $119,300. So that leaves negative $74,970. The second net worth calculation is with market value. So now it's accounting for the actual value of the items that I owe money towards or that I own outright. So if I was supposed to sell those items today, what can I get for them in the market? So with that calculation, it's summing $1,200, $3,000, $4,000, $130, and $130,000, and $7,000. So all my assets in this equation here is $181,330. And from that, my liabilities are subtracted, which is $6,300 and $113,000. So that's $119,000, which gives me a net worth of $62,030. Now, at the end of the month now, I'll be filling in my ending balance. So towards the end of the month, when I'm closing out my budget, I'm going to look again in my accounts and see what my ending balances are for all of them, how much money I have left in cash, and what my new balances are for the money that I owe. And then at that point, my ending balance net worth will be calculated. And that's it in terms of the account balances section. Now let's walk through the monthly income section. So this is a section where you document all of your income sources and the amount of take-home pay that you receive from them each week. So for this example, I have two income sources. The first one will be for ABC Corporation. And my second source is government food assistance. So I'm going to delete the other rows except for the unexpected income. So you always want to leave some room for unexpected income. And let's say for ABC Corporation, I get paid twice monthly, so bi-weekly. So the first paycheck I get is on the first week, and that's for $1,500. And then I get another $1,500 on week 3. And then for my government food assistance, I get $400 on week 1. So this is what I'm expecting to receive this month. A total of $3,400. So $3,000 for my job and then $400 from the government. And when I actually receive that money, so in the actual monthly income section, so at the end of week 1, when I actually get paid, then I'll be entering $1,500 there. And then when I get another $1,500 in week 3, I enter $1,500. Once I receive my $400 from the government, I put $400 in actual. So now, this way, there's no difference between my expected monthly income and my actual monthly income. The difference is 0. Now let's say that I'm moving throughout the month and then a friend, for some reason, gave me $100 or $150. Then I'll simply enter that amount here. So let's say it was in week 4. And a friend gave me $100. Maybe it's because it's my birthday. So I put $100 here. Now my total is $3,500 for actuals, but my expected income was $3,400. So there's a difference of $100 that I received, and that's a positive difference. So I could also enter a comment here. So gift from John, right? So my friend John gave me $100. And that's all there is to the monthly income section. Now let's walk through the this month's budget section. This is a section where you document line by line how much of your expected income you plan to allocate towards each of your budget categories. So that will be giving, savings and investing, loans and obligations, and your essential, discretionary, and unexpected expenses. But before we do that, let's delete the actuals in the monthly income section. We'll get back to actuals later in the video. So the first thing you should do in the this month's budget section is to change each of the subcategories to reflect your personal subcategories. So let's say we plan to give tithes and offerings, but we also plan to give to our local food bank. And then finally, give some money towards birthday and anniversary gifts. So we could delete the additional 2 rows because we won't be using those. And now we need to enter the amount for each budget subcategory. So for tithe and offerings, we plan to give $300 to the church, $10 to the food bank, and $30 for birthday gifts. Now to the right, you can see the percentage of income being calculated. So of the $3,400, we plan to give 10% of that. 8.82% for tithe and offerings, 0.29 and 0.88 for the remaining 2. The next thing we want to document is our due/deposit date. So we plan to give the $300 to the church on the 1st. And then on the 15th, we plan to give the $10 to the food bank. And then on the 10th and the 21st is when we plan to buy birthday gifts and anniversary gifts. Now, the way we plan to donate the money to the church is via our checking account. Same thing goes for our local food bank. And then for the birthday and anniversary gift, we plan to do that via our city credit card. And finally, for this section, you could enter any applicable comments. So let's say $15 for nephew's birthday and the other $15 for friend's anniversary. Now you need to repeat the exact same process for each of the remaining categories in this month's budget section. So to save time, I am going to copy and paste this information in, and then we can walk through analyzing this section. But it's important to note that not all subcategories will have a due/deposit date. For example, groceries, right? There's no specific date for buying groceries. You buy groceries when it's needed. So this will remain blank. And there are other subcategories that may follow the same process as well. So keep that in mind. Okay, I've completed populating this month's budget section. So all in all, I plan to give $340 of my expected income, $3,400, and that's 10% of my income. Plan to save $330, which is 9.71%. Plan to apply $1,380 towards paying off my loans and obligations, and that's 40.59% of my income. And in terms of my essential expenses, I plan to spend $1,050, which is 30.88%. And discretionary expenses, $250, which is 7.35%. And then for unexpected expenses, I plan to allocate $50, which is 1.47%. So I've also gone through and ensured that only applicable budget subcategories have a due/deposit date. There are items such as groceries, household items, gas for your car, haircuts, and dining out that tend to be spontaneous. It's kind of when you need to purchase these items, that's when you do it. So there's no scheduled dates. So these items have a blank in the due/deposit date column. The next thing we need to do with this section is to ensure that we'll have enough money in our checking account to cover all of the items that we plan to pay for from our checking account. And in order to do that, the first step is to apply a filter to row 35, this row here. So to do that, you just want to click on the number 35 in the row number bar to highlight the row. Then go up to this icon here that says create a filter and click on that. Now the filter icon has been added to every column in this month's budget section. So the next thing to do is to filter on checking account and direct deposit. So in order to do that, you want to click on this filter icon here in the payment method column. Then click clear and select only checking account and direct deposit and click OK. This will return all of the items that we plan to pay for from our checking account and direct deposit. Now, if we go up to our monthly income section, we expect to receive $1,500 in week 1. So the most we'll have in our account, in our checking account on week 1 is $1,500. So this $1,500 needs to last us from the first of the month until the 15th when we get another paycheck. So now we need to filter out everything that falls from the 1st until the 14th. So to do that, again, you want to click on the filter icon here, but in the due/deposit date column, select or click clear, and then select everything from the 1st until the 14th. So the 10th, 6th, and 9th. Okay, and then click OK. Now, if we sum up the budget column, that sums to $1,675. So we're going to be $175 short because all we'll have in our checking account is $1,500. But it's actually less than $1,500 because this direct deposit amount actually goes directly to our savings account at the credit union. Right? So the max we'll have in our checking account is actually $1,400. So we have $1,400 to cover $1,575 worth of expenses from the 1st to the 14th of the month. So that means we need to apply a different payment method to some of these items to $175 worth to avoid an overdraft. Or we can change the due/deposit dates, right? So let's say, for example, for this vacation savings, Bank of America savings account, instead of doing the transfer from my checking account on the 1st, I'm going to change that to the 16th, right? So that gets us $50 back. And let's say for the electric and the water bill, we're going to pay with our credit card as opposed to paying with our checking account to avoid the overdraft fee. So let's put city credit card here and the same thing here. Now, if we reapply the filter, all right, that leaves $1,400 worth of expenses, and we'll have $1,400 in our checking account because this $100 goes directly to our savings account. So we avoided paying any overdraft fees this month. Now that we have analyzed our budget to ensure that we'll have enough money in our account to pay for all of our expenses, we could unfilter this row here. So to do that, again, you just select the row and click the filter icon again, and it unfilters. Now let's take a look at the income and budget comparison section and the information that it communicates to us. The first row is the total monthly income. And in the plan column, it lists how much money we expect to bring in this month, so $3,400. This information is fed directly from the monthly income section. So if I double click on this cell here, it's set to F30. So if I scroll up, you see it's being fed directly from here. Now, these rows communicate exactly how I've planned to allocate my expected monthly income. And this information is fed directly from the this month's budget section. So it's communicating that I plan to give $340, save and invest $330, put towards my loans and obligations $1,380, and apply towards expenses $1,350. And if I double click on any of these cells, you see that it links back directly to the this month's budget section. Now, this row is one of the most important rows of this section because it communicates to us whether or not we've completely allocated or over-allocated or under-allocated our expected monthly income. So in this case, the difference is 0. So this is total monthly income. So the amount I plan to bring in is $3,400 minus my total monthly budget. The amount I've budgeted is $3,400. So right now my budget is a zero-based budget, meaning that every single dollar is accounted for, every single penny. Right? So 3,400 minus 3,400 gives me 0. However, let's say that I had over budgeted. Let's say that I plan to spend $40 in entertainment. Right? So now it's telling me I bring in $3,400. That's my expected income, but I plan to spend $3,420. So I'm over budget by $20. So that means I need to cut $20 from my budget. Right? So the opposite is also true. So if I under allocate it, so let's go back, make this 20. What if I made this now 0? Right? So my expected monthly income is $3,400, but I have allocated $3,380. So I'm under budget now by 20. So there's still $20 that I need to allocate towards my budget. So I'm going to put the $20 back here. Now the second to last row sums up all of the money that I have in assets, right? So it's how much money I have in my checking accounts, savings accounts, investment accounts, and cash on hand. So if I double click on this and scroll all the way up to the top here, it's summing all of these values. So it's saying at the beginning of the month, I have $44,330 in assets. However, at the end of the month, I expect to have $44,660 in my checking, savings, investment accounts, and cash on hand. And that's because I plan to contribute $330 towards savings and investing. So that brings my total up to $44,660. Now, once you have drafted your budget and done your income and budget comparison to see that you're line on line, that you have completely allocated your expected monthly income and that you're satisfied with your budget, the next thing to do is to change the status of your budget from being drafted to now in progress. Now you move throughout the month with this as your plan, right? So you plan to give 300, you plan to save 100 here, you plan to pay 1,000 here. So this is your plan for the month, and as the month progresses, you try to stick to this plan and you track all your expenses. Now at the end of the month, we come back to the spreadsheet and then we enter the ending balance and start filling out all of our ending balances and our actuals. Okay, so now let's say that this is the end of the month. So the first thing we're going to do is enter the date for our ending balances. So this is January 31st, 2018. And as of today, there's no change in my checking account from the beginning of the month, so it's $1,200. In my Bank of America savings, let's say it's now $1,130. And in my credit union savings account, it's now $2,100. As you can see, the difference is being calculated as I enter my ending balance. So in my Bank of America savings account, it went up by $130, and in my credit union savings account, it went up by $100. Now my 401k balance at the end of the month is now $30,050. So that went up by $50, and my Roth is now $10,050, also increasing by $50. I now have $230 in cash, so that's a difference of $100. And in my Citibank credit card, I now owe $4,900, so I paid down $100. And for my American Express, I now owe $1,220, so I paid down $80. For my mortgage, my new principal is now $97,500. So I pay down $500 on my principal. And for my student loans, $9,900, a difference of $100. And for my car loan, $4,900. Remember to enter all of the money that you owe, so credit cards and loans and obligations, as negative numbers. Now, if I take a look at my net worth without market value, my net worth is a negative $73,660. That's a difference of $1,310 from the start of the month. And in the same way, if I take a look at my net worth with market value, that's now $63,340, a difference of $1,310. Now, in terms of my actual monthly income, so I did get paid the $1,500 in week 1 and the $400 from the government. And in week 3, there's also that $1,500 that I got paid. And in week 4, I received $100 from a friend and gift from John. So my actuals for the month is actually $3,500 for income, but my expected monthly income was $3,400, and the difference is this $100 gift. Now let's move to the this month's budget section. Now as we move throughout the month, we're tracking every single expense, right? So at this point, we're able to document exactly how much we spent in each category. So for giving, we did give $300 to the church, $10 to the food bank, and $30 for birthday anniversary gifts. And for the rest of it, we're able to stick directly to our budget. So everything that we plan, we're able to meet. So we just copy these values over. And as you can see, the difference in every single row is 0 because everything is line in line. However, let's say that for groceries, let's say we went over budget by $10. Right? So you see that we are over by $10 in the difference column. However, let's just make it 400 again. Now let's move to the income and budget comparison section. So in this section, it's showing that my expected monthly income was $3,400 and my actuals was actually $3,500, the difference of $100, and that's because of the gift from my friend John. You can see that $100 difference here and here. And in terms of my budget, I was actually able to stick with it 100%. So I planned to spend $3,400, and this was the breakdown, and I actually spent $3,400. Now, how would this change if I actually overspent? So let's say that I had some additional unexpected expenses, and let's say I end up spending $100 there. Right? So now you see that my total monthly income is $3,500. My plan was for $3,400. My total monthly budget was $3,400, and my actuals came in at $3,450. So there's a difference of $50 here. And that $50 came from my expenses category, right? So this is where the $50 can be found. However, I'm still $50 in the positive for the month because my total monthly income, again, was $3,500. But my actuals for the month was $3,450, so I still have $50 left over for the month, which is a good thing. However, let's say I spent another $200 dining out, right? So now it's showing that I'm actually $130 over budget for the month, right? So plan was for $3,400. I spent $3,630. Okay, now I think you get the idea, so let me change these back. So 50 and 20. Now, if we go down to the very last row, you could see that I was expecting my assets to go up by $330. That was my plan. So it started at $44,330, and I was expecting $44,660. However, I ended up at $44,760. And again, that's due to the $100 that I received as a gift. Now, once you've gone through and entered all of your actuals and your ending balances, the next thing to do is to actually close out your budget. So it's no longer in process. You're going to change the status now to closed. And then one thing I personally like to do is to use my previous month's budget as a template for my next month's budget. So I'm going to copy this budget here and use it as my starting point for my February budget. So in order to do that, you right click on the sheet name, so January 2018. So I'm going to right click here and then left click on duplicate. Now a duplicate copy of this sheet has been created. Now I could rename this one to February 2018. And then for the January one, the ones that are closed, what I like to do is actually change the color on each of these sheets to reflect a green color, indicating that it's good, it's been closed. So in order to change the color of each of the sheets, you would right click on that sheet, scroll up to change color and hover, and then select your desired color. So I'm going to click green, and now that tab has been changed to green. And now for my February budget, I could simply change my date. So now it's 2/18, and then it's now going to be in progress. And then my starting balance for February. So let me put my starting date. So 2/1/18. Delete the ending date. But my starting balance for my February budget is my ending balance for my January budget. So to save time, I could simply just copy and paste, right? So copy all this information over. All right, and then now delete only the yellow cells, not the white cells. And just like that, my account balances section for my February budget has been quickly updated. And I could also check and validate if my market value prices has changed. They rarely change that much from month to month. So you may want to check every 3 months or so. But it's a good idea if you have easy access to it just to check, and then you could update your comments here. And then I move down to my monthly income section here and delete all my actuals because this is a new month. And if there's no plan, if there's no changes to my plan monthly income, then I'll leave this as is. And then the same thing for my this month's budget section. If I'm okay with the budget as is, then I'll leave my plan column alone, my budget column alone, and then delete all my actuals. However, if I've noticed that over the last few months, let's say my actuals for grocery was actually $500, but I budgeted $400, then I may want to change this to $500 and then remove $100 from somewhere else in my budget. But we're going to keep it just as is, and then delete our actuals column, just the yellow cells. And then that's it. So just like that, our new month's budget has been created in less than a couple minutes, right? So the majority of the time in setting this up is in the first month. The next month, it's very easy. All you're doing is using the first month as a template and then adding any additional expenses or subtracting, right? So if there's an expense that you had the previous month that you won't have in the new month, then you delete that expense and allocate the money somewhere else. And if there's an expense that you're going to add for this new month, then you add that and then subtract the money from somewhere else, right? But you need to get to a zero-based budget. So your total monthly income should always reflect your total monthly budget. Or said the other way, your total monthly budget should be exactly what your total monthly income is. You shouldn't plan to overspend, and you shouldn't plan to under-allocate. The money that you won't spend, you should be putting towards your savings, your investing, right? So all in all, this line here should be zero. And guys, that's all there is to completing and working with this monthly budget spreadsheet. I hope you found this overview helpful. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me via RhoneLogics.com.